Hey everybody, welcome back to Just Keep Parenting. You can see some hula hoops in the background today. We're talking about personal space and personal bubbles with 4-year-olds. This is not something that they know how to do on their own, right? And so we've brought in hula hoops this week to talk about personal space and personal bubbles. And we're going to be doing the chicken dance as we try to talk about that and teach the kids about personal space. And we had the sweetest little thing happen today. We had a little boy who was sitting in the back, and he'd had kind of a rough day, and he looked at this other little boy who'd been trying to help him throughout the day. He said, "Hey, can I give you a hug?" And the little boy said yes, and they hugged each other. And it was perfect, right? We'd been talking about it's okay to say no if you don't want a hug or whatnot, but it's also okay to say yes. Anyway, that's why the hula hoops are here. So, you guys, we're going to talk about chapter 11 in our book, Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline, right? And chapter 11, we talked a little bit about last week, where we wanted to do something about loving guidance in action, right? What does that look like? And we talked about the fact that we have to remember, right, to refresh ourselves, to remind ourselves, and to renew ourselves, right? And we talked about the slow, quick dance of discipline. And so today we're going to continue with chapter 11, and we're going to talk about parent triggers and child triggers, right? Because back in chapter 3, we talked about triggers and how one is where we want the child to do something they aren't doing, right? And the other is when the child is wanting something to happen that isn't happening. So we've got these two triggers that are going on. And one trigger involves you trying to do your job as a parent, and the other involves your child trying to do their job. And sometimes they don't meet very well, right? And so I just wanted today, I thought maybe I could just talk about some scenarios that are in the book, and to kind of talk about how parents and teachers are doing their job. These may sound similar to you. So I'm going to read off of page 241, and it says, "Stay in the yard and play. Bailey, stay in the yard and play with Michelle. In the yard, you are safe from cars." Bailey's mother, Doreen, has assertively stated a limit, but the girls are excited and really aren't listening. To make sure the limit is clear, Bailey's mom says, "On 3, I want you girls to run around the edge of the yard. Trace the whole yard as if it were a rectangle. 1, 2, 3, go." I love it that she's making it so physical, right? The girls take off squealing. Upon their return, Doreen, she says, "You did it. You ran around the whole yard. Bailey, your hands were pumping like this," demonstrating arm positions, right? "And Michelle, your legs came up in the back like this," demonstrating the leg position. "So now you know the limits. Play inside the line that you traced." As she goes inside, she calls out, "Have fun," right? So she set up the expectations. She's done her job as a parent. When Doreen checks on the girls 10 minutes later, they're in the neighbor's yard gathering pine cones. She goes over to them and says, "I see you got excited about your project and forgot about staying in the yard," right? She didn't yell at them, "You guys are in the wrong," right? You got excited, you're in the other yard. Both girls look up, their faces fall, and their little voices reply in unison, "We forgot." After giving it some thought, Doreen concludes that she has adequately taught the girls about the yard limits, and not just on that day, but also on other days. She decides that consequences might help. "Girls, I have shown you the safe boundaries," right? Stated the expectation. "You had a choice to remember them or to forget. If you forget and leave the yard again," right? This is the rule of 3, right? She's stating it again. Now she's stating it with the consequences. "If you leave the yard again, both of you will come inside, and then Michelle will have to go home. Do you understand what will happen if you leave the yard?" Right? Giving them that expectation again. They both nod. "Tell me," Doreen says. Both girls repeat the consequences they have heard, right? So I just love that she's trying to help them physically and mentally figure out where the boundaries are, right? She lets them play. She doesn't yell at them, "Oh my gosh, you forgot the rules," right? But she knows they were excited about it. The girls' faces fell, "We forgot, Mom," right? So she gives them the expectation again, the expectation with the consequence, and then she has to follow through, right? It doesn't tell us whether she followed through or not, but we're assuming she did. Okay, one more. Get in your car seat, right? We've all struggled with car seats. Martha felt harried. She was 10 minutes behind schedule, and her 3-year-old child, Gary, had been singing a chorus of no's all morning. Lately, the car seat had been an issue, and Martha was apprehensive. She thought, "I don't have time for this, not this morning." She was in knots, but she finally decided to take hold of herself. breathe, she told herself. You must relax. Remember, discipline yourself first and your children second. You're already late, but don't panic. The more you hurry Gary, the more trouble he gives you. Focus on what you want, Martha. You can do it. Keep breathing. All is well. This moment is as it is. I love that she's using those powers, right? To be able to say, it is as it is. I can breathe. I can do this. I might be late. Out loud, Martha calmly said, it's time to go. Go get in your car seat. Gary ignored. Martha continued, you have a choice. Do you want me to lift you up so you can open the door, or do you want me to open it for you? Gary ran toward the car yelling, me do it, me do it. When Martha reached the car, she started to pick him up to open the door. He pushed her arm away and collapsed to the ground with his lip protruding and his arms folded. Martha thought, oh no, here we go again, but stopped short and said to herself, I know what to do. Reflect what you see. She said, Gary, your arms are crossed and your body and your lip is quivering. Your body is telling me I wanted to do it myself. Gary made eye contact and seemed to relax. Martha told herself, don't give up now, stay calm. She said, when you were a baby, I carried you in my arms like this, and she showed him. I used to put you in your car seat. Opens the door to show him. Now you can do it by yourself. Climb in and hook it up. I'll watch you. Gary slowly got up, his body still slightly tense. Martha said to herself, have faith, stay calm, right? Gary climbed in, pulled the belt over his head, and buckled up. Martha exclaimed, you did it! You climbed in and put your seatbelt on yourself. Martha jumped into the car and drove off, late, but fairly calm, as Gary started singing. All right? I love those two examples because I think we've all probably had them in our life. We had a situation this morning in class where today was the first day that we had our name tags on, and we had a color dot on it. And that, as we've got to know the kids over the past 4 weeks, we finally put them into little groups so that as we go back to the tables, they can all go back in their group now. And one little boy this morning had a yellow dot. And he said to the student teacher, I hate that dot. And she, in her profound wisdom, looked around to see who she was playing with. And he had 3 yellow dots and 1 blue dot. He was the only yellow dot. 3 red dots and 1 blue dot, yeah. He was the only yellow dot. And he wanted to be with the others, right? So she didn't quite know how to handle the situation, but she said to him, you know what? We're all going to be in different dots. And he's like, I don't like yellow. So then he started kicking her and kicking the boxes and stuff, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. And so I came into the classroom and I just said, come on over here, B. We got something to do. We got to talk. And he's like, I'm not talking to you, right? So he was in his brainstem. And I said, you know what, sweetie, that's not a choice. My job is to keep you safe. And we're not safe because you're kicking Miss Page, and that's not appropriate. You're kicking the kids, that's not appropriate. So you need to come with me. So you can have a choice. You can come with me on your own, or I can pick you up. I'm not coming. And I said, well, actually you are. And so I picked him up, brought him over to the chair because I needed to get him out of the way of the other kids. And we sat there, and I said, I can tell that you are so angry right now. You're mad about something, and we have to figure out what it is so we can solve your problem. I don't want to talk. And I said, I know, because when I'm mad, I don't want to talk either. So we can sit here and just say nothing for a few minutes. Well, there was a little boy who'd seen this happen, and he was worried about this little guy. So he came over, and the teacher tried to help him. She said, are you worried about him? He said, yeah. Is he going to be okay? So I said to the little boy, do you need some disappointment cream, buddy, or some cranky cream? No. So then we instructed the little boys, thank you for caring about him, right? But he went back and started playing. So together we walked out. He'd calmed down enough. So we walked out, went and sat in a chair outside of that classroom. And he didn't want to sit by me, right? He was far enough away. So then I was talking to the secretary, and all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, the music is starting. I said, yeah, you can hear it in the classroom, can't you? He said, but I didn't get to play the whole time. And I said, I know, because we came out here to try to get you to understand that we've got to solve this problem. He said, well, I just don't like the dot. Right now, I knew some of this, but he hadn't told me any of it. And I said, well, what color's your dot? And he's like, yellow. My friends had blue and red. And I said, right. And you have friends that have yellow dots too, but you weren't playing with them. Oh, other people have yellow? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I said, you know what? We can take the dot off. We've got some fingernail polish remover. We can take the dot off. Okay. So we couldn't find the fingernail polish remover. The secretary got some tape, put it over. He came back to the classroom. I was in the classroom at that point. He was totally fine. Intentionally, I had the yellow group go last, thinking that we might have an issue, right? So I let all the 3 other groups go first. He came back and I said, it's the yellow group. It's your turn. He said, I'm the yellow group. These are my friends. And they walked back to the line, right? And so sometimes we just have to see beyond. We have to see beyond the behavior, right? To remind ourselves to calm, to remind ourselves it is as it is, right? And we have to work on ourselves first before we can work on the kids. So that was my story that came from today in the classroom. So as we work on ourselves and then our kids, right, it's just better that way. So as we're thinking about loving guidance, next time we're going to talk a little bit more about, I'm going to give you one more scenario, and then we're going to talk about children doing their job, right? Because we're trying to do our job as parents and teachers, but they have a job to do as well. So join us next time to find out how children do their job. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.